Alrighty, Bungie, let's have a quick little chat, you and I, about the Dawning. Now, I almost wasn't going to make today's video because I've been really distracted and spread thin lately between Path of Exile 2 launching, the Illuminate finally showing up in Helldivers 2, and playing Marvel Rivals, which, holy God in heaven, help me please, I'm addicted to that game. Content will be coming on this channel for that, I can almost guarantee you. But yeah, by the time I sat down and wanted to organize my thoughts on the Dawning, I saw that Dado had beat me to the punch, so to say, with a video going over his one major critique of the Dawning, which, by the way, good video. And side note, I know this is probably wrong for me to say, but anytime you click open a Dado video and his vocal tone is an even blend of exhausted and frustrated, like he just walked in on a toddler smearing macaroni and cheese all over the bedroom wall, I mean, 99% of the time, you know it's going to be a good listen. Anywho, all that being said, I will stand on the shoulders of a good friend today and say a few things myself in the same vein on the D2 event, The Dawning. To put it really plainly, grinding The Dawning for loot purposes just sucks. Like, it really isn't fun, in my opinion, and the reason why, as Dado basically neatly boiled it down to, you have to pick one of two possible choices. Option number one, a very efficient farm, but mind-numbingly boring, or option number two, very, very inefficient, but you get to play however you want. And here's what that means. In order to farm Dawning weapons, one of the things you need is Dawning Essence, which actually not really complicated to get. You earn Dawning Essence by completing in-game activities. So in theory, if you just played the game like normal, you'd slowly get Dawning Essence naturally over time. The problem is, if you're trying to get a really specific Dawning God roll, then you're going to need to collect a metric butt ton of Dawning Essence to even have a decent chance at getting that exact roll, because as we all know, RNG is a bitch. On that note, I played 3 games in the competitive playlist the other day, just because I'm still looking for a 5 out of 5 deadlock shotgun, and couldn't help but notice that one game of comp gave me just 16 Dawning Essence. That's enough to bake 1 cookie in the oven. I mean, technically around 1.5 cookies. After 2 games of comp, I can make 3 cookies in my masterworked Dawning oven. But even 3 cookies does not equal 1 guaranteed weapon drop. I jotted down a few numbers as I baked and handed out a bunch of Dawning cookies, and you basically have a 1 in 6 chance, give or take, to get a gift in return when giving out cookies. That, along with other materials, of course, can be exchanged for 1 single Dawning weapon. In total, we're looking at about 6 cookies, aka 60 Dawning Essence, plus ingredients for a gift in return for just 1 Dawning weapon, and again, basic probability dictates you very likely aren't going to get your perfect 5 out of 5 God roll on just that 1 focused Dawning weapon. This is why people have resorted to one of 2 farming methods to just collect an unholy amount of Dawning Essence for minimal time and effort. You have method A, which is just repeat farming the very end of the first contact mission in the Lightfall campaign, aka just hopping into the Cabal drop pod on repeat. Or you have method B, farming Dull Inkaru, aka the final boss of the Shattered Throne dungeon. Doing either of those can net you around 20 plus Dawning Essence per run, and if you move real fast with a good farming team on Dull Inkaru, you can get each run done in basically 1 minute, which includes the time it takes to swap characters and reload the checkpoint. So the question becomes, if it's going to take hundreds or maybe even thousands of Dawning Essence for the average player to have a decent mathematical shot at getting the exact God roll they really want, then why the fuck would they do anything other than first contact or Dull Inkaru farming? In a little over an hour, I think it was, I wasn't exactly looking at the clock, but I earned 1,265 Dawning Essence by just burning down Dull Inkaru on repeat with a group of friends. By comparison, if I wanted to earn the same amount of Dawning Essence by playing comp, I'd have to play almost 80 games. If the average game of comp is around 10 minutes, why don't we say, including queue times and orbit times, that would be a little over 13 hours of playtime. Now, some people might say, well, look, the problem is that the Dawning hasn't changed in years, and at this point, it just needs a complete rework from the ground up. And actually, I completely 100% disagree. Yes, in a perfect world, I think it would be fun and refreshing if we got a brand new version of the Dawning instead of the cookie baking simulator that we all know by now like the back of our hands. However, any time or resources from Bungie invested into updating the Dawning event are likely resources that would probably be way better spent on other future content. I would way rather Bungie take all of their time, effort, and resources and funnel that into the future of the franchise. Major content updates, like whatever the hell it is we're getting down the pipe in the future for Destiny Frontiers, as opposed to focusing on slightly improving a 3-week holiday event. To me, that would just be a complete waste of time and energy. That being said, though, I really do think the Dawning could do with a change, and I think the most effective, lowest effort solution is probably just give players way more Dawning essence for playing the game, because we really need it. Here's a few numbers to back up that request. As I mentioned earlier, I grabbed 1,265 Dawning essence from 1 to 2 hours of farming Dol Inkaru. Again, I wasn't really looking at the clock, but it falls somewhere within that given time frame. With all of that essence, I baked 126 cookies, turned them in, and got a total of 21 gifts in return, and out of every weapon I focused, I didn't get one 5 out of 5 Glacioclasm roll. And yes, that is with both perks unlocked that give you a chance at having additional perks in columns 3 and 4. Granted, a lot of this is me not settling for perfection, whereas a lot of other players understandably may not care. A lot of people out there might get a near perfect roll held back by something like a reload masterwork, and just say, good enough. And honestly, I can't blame those people, because if you want to continue chasing perfection, it means you have to head back to the Shattered Throne Mines and do the most boring farm in the universe for another 2 hours. And don't get me wrong, I'm okay with grinding to get my god rolls, but I think the Dawning would just be so much more enjoyable if it didn't feel like doing any farm other than Dol Inkaru was just a massive waste of time. Now, before we get any further, I am pleading, begging even, that if anyone at Bungie might be listening to this, do not take away the message of, got it, we must nerf how much Dawning essence you get from Dol Inkaru to make sure that players don't resort to doing that. That, in my opinion, would be the worst possible solution to this problem. Yes, in a perfect world, D2 players would never use a farm like this to begin with, they would just be playing the game. But instead of chopping down First Contact or Dol Inkaru, what about just jacking the amount of Dawning currency we earn via other activities way through the roof? I don't know about y'all watching this, but when we get the rare situation of having both A, an adept weapon worth chasing in a Grandmaster Nightfall, and also B, a week where Grandmaster Nightfalls are giving double loot drops, I wake the hell up and grind. If Bungie ever decides to reintroduce an updated version of the palindrome, hashtag please I'm begging you, and they released it on a double loot drop week, I would be logging the Christ on every day to grind for that 5-5 roll, because when GM Nightfalls have double drops, I feel like my grind time is now very much worth it, and the grind also involves just playing the game normally. There's another totally different game out there I sometimes play every now and then, Dead by Daylight, which I've made 250 games of videos on, by the way, and even though Dead by Daylight and D2 are very different games, I think Dead by Daylight does an awesome job at getting their community to hop on and play for fun community events. The main currency in Dead by Daylight are blood points, and in many short-lived holiday events, players are rewarded free blood points for simply logging into the game for each new day of the event. On top of that, there are very often times where the game will just tip the scales based on the current player population and allow you to earn extra blood points for hopping into a certain playlist, like the recent 2v8 game type. Again, I know that DBD and D2 are very different games, but still, if Bungie came out tomorrow and said, hey look, for every one game of, I don't know, Gambit that you play, you will be rewarded with 50 Dawning Essence, win or lose, you better believe that I would morph into a full-on Dredgen overnight. Or what about Trials? Bungie is repeatedly making efforts to get more people into the Trials playlist, and it doesn't matter how bad the featured weapon is, you put 50 Dawning Essence on the table for each game of Trials, win or lose during the Dawning, I feel like that's an almost guarantee that player numbers will go up that weekend. And ignoring all the other stuff that's been going on with the Dawning this year, and by that I mean glitches, which, dear God, so many glitches this year, entirely different conversation altogether. And I think with just that one adjustment, so many players would enjoy, or at the very least, care about logging on and grinding out holiday god rolls in a manner that doesn't make them groan when they think about. As always, I'd like to say that I never claim to speak for anybody else. I only speak for myself, nor am I a game dev. This could obviously be much more of a complicated problem than I'm making it look like. But if you have any different thoughts or opinions regarding the Dawning, by all means, feel free to share your thoughts down in the comment section. In the meantime, best of luck to you if you're on that Dawning grind this year. Hope you don't have to burn through as much Dawning essence as I have so far to get a decent roll. Thank you very much for watching. Peace!